My life hasn't been what you probably think it has. We all have our struggles.
Have you ever been in love?
A long, long time ago. You?
So many times. Yeah, all the time.
Welcome to the future. Life is good, but it can be better. And why shouldn't it be? All you need is to want it. Think about finally having everything you always wanted.
I can save today, but you can save the world.
Steve.
No. I take what I want in return. Everyone will see. The world needs you. You know what you need to do.
Nothing good is born from lies. And greatness is not what you think.
It's all art.
That's just a trash can.
It's just a trash can. Yeah.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strengths of friendship, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie. We are part of the Main Damie Network, and to find more from us, check out the website at themaindamie.com or on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Main Damie. We are also now a proud member of Geek Vibes Nation. You can find them at gbnation.com. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio, and with me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What?
Yeah, Mark.
Mark jumped the gun on that one.
He got excited. Mark, say hello.
It's a big night.
We're just talking about great chemistry that we have, and now Mark at episode 115 has decided that he wants to shake it up, and he's going first.
I'm going rogue.
I'm guessing Mark's excitement is the fact that we actually have a guest this week. One of the things that our initiatives of 2021 is that we wanted to start bringing on some people to kind of keep it fresh. And this week, we have our first one in that initiative. She's the host of Top 10 with Tia, who Dan always plugs every week. And she's the head writer and content manager for Geek Vibes Nation. Please welcome to the show, Tia. Tia, how you doing?
What's up, guys? I'm super excited. It's really funny, as you were saying, we were talking about the chemistry, and Mark's like, you know what? No, today I'm going first.
I feel a little betrayed now, Mark.
As we start every episode, we've been talking about what we've watched this week. So, Tia, what have you watched this week?
So I'm sure you guys really haven't heard of this show because I just feel like not a lot of people have. But American Gods on Starz came back. So I watched the first episode of that and I really liked it. And I've just been watching a lot of YouTube. I feel as if lately it's like I'm the type of person that I don't want to kind of waste my time with something that I don't know if I like it or not. So I just end up watching the same shows and the same YouTube videos because I'm like, oh, I know that brings me joy. I find myself just on my computer a lot, especially working from home, so I can't really have anything that distracts me. I find myself now, though, listening to a lot of true crime stuff, which it's like you're trying to type out things and you're listening to stories of just people getting murdered. And it's like, oh, this is great. This is fine.
It's very relaxing background.
It's very relaxing. Exactly.
All right, Dan, what about you? What have you watched this week?
Well, I started off light. I started watching Naked Gun. Hadn't seen that in a while.
Okay.
And then I followed that lovely romp with Pieces of a Woman, which is the exact opposite of Naked Gun.
Yep.
It's probably one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. Was it Vanessa Kirby is in it?
Yeah.
And yeah, she kills it. She's great. Shia LaBeouf is in it. He does well too. It brought me to think just like how I would love to root for Shia LaBeouf if he wasn't a huge asshole.
Yeah.
Because he's a good actor, but you just hear all these stories about him and it makes it really difficult to want that guy to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I really rooted for him at some point, and then you heard everything that is going on with him. I'm like, man, I felt as if you were redeeming yourself from the Transformers years, and now this is happening, and it really just takes you back.
Yeah, he admitted to basically being a piece of shit like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I think I read, and this might have been the final straw, and you guys know about me and my affinity towards animals. He went around LA shooting stray dogs to get into the mindset. This is what his ex-girlfriend was claiming, along with the abuse. I was like, well, I could kind of see that because he's one of those method actors, the people who can't just act and do their job. They have to get into the mindset. So I could see that being a thing, but I hope it's not. So I watched that. I was super depressed. And then I watched The Sound of Metal with Riz Ahmed, and that was very good. If Riz Ahmed were to be, he should be nominated, I would imagine, for this. If he were to win it, I would not be upset because he's learning how to be, or pretend to be, hard of hearing and deaf and learning sign language and how to deal with it. He does such a good job with it. It's very convincing. And that led me to watching Whiplash drumming. And I watched Whiplash for the first time. I'm kicking myself for never having seen it before. It was so good. None of you guys told me to watch that.
Man, I got my own things going on. You know.
You're too busy telling me to watch Dunkirk.
What about you, Mark? Mark,
Yeah.
what have you watched? Chomping at the bit this week, Mark.
Yeah,
what do you got? You better bring it. Bring it.
I mainly did mostly what Tia did. You know, I do my normal YouTube and stuff and Twitch, but Games Done Quick going on and rewatching that stuff. Outside of Wonder Woman 1984, I thought about watching a movie. Does that count? I thought about tuning into Tenet, but I didn't pull the trigger.
It only counts so many times.
I mean, I spent a whole month of December thinking about watching Happiest Season and never pulled the trigger, so.
Sooner or later, you gotta commit, Mark.
You're not missing out, by the way. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you're not missing out with Happiest Season.
Okay. I just have a habit of doing that because I get into other things I do, doing other podcasts and streams, and I'm like, I'm going to watch this movie. Never do it. I actually watched this movie, that we're reviewing today, all the way through, like when I should have been going to sleep to go back to work from vacation. So I may have been a little more tired near the end, so we'll see how my analysis comes out at that part. But yeah, that's basically all I've done. My typical not watching movies despite being one of the three hosts of a movie podcast.
Yep. Yeah, we're very happy that you choose the life you've chosen. I haven't really watched this much this week either. I watched Mulholland Drive for the first time in a long time, which is probably my favorite David Lynch movie. I remember for some reason I watched that with my parents the first time. So
that's not a good decision.
It gets very horny in the second half of that movie.
Oh yeah.
But this time I watched it by myself, so it wasn't so bad. And the only other thing I really watched this week was my wife and I burned through the Flight Attendant on HBO Max in 2 days. The Kaylee Cuoco series on HBO Max, which was good. It was light. I like her in that she's not like necessarily a great actress, but she's like really good in that role. It's like perfect for her. So it's interesting.
I loved it.
I was gonna say,
I
Tia, you covered that, right?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't want to interrupt while Anthony was expressing his thoughts about the flight attendant, but I loved it. As someone who watched The Big Bang Theory a lot, especially in the early seasons when I lived at home. And I don't know if you guys experience this, but when you're living at home and you're younger, if your parents are watching something, they're like, well, why don't you come out of your room and watch it with us? So that was that type of show. So to see her go from that character to the character she was in The Flight Attendant, I was really happy to see the transition. I thought it was great.
She just does a lot of heavy lifting in the show. She, was very focused on her.
Yeah, so I mean, there were like something like I hope in season 2 we don't get as much of her being, say, in her head like she was in season 1. But besides that, I was really happy. And if it would have been just a limited series, then I thought it ended perfectly in that case.
Yeah, I feel like season 2 is gonna. I think they're gonna try and figure out what's going on with Rosie Perez. I feel like that's what they set up for that season 2. But I like seeing Michael Huisman or whatever his name is show up. I always like seeing him pop up. Second Dario from Game of Thrones. Yeah, it was good.
Oh my God, that was him? I'm sorry. I had no idea who that guy was. I was like, I've never seen that guy ever.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. My bad.
Yeah. I remember he popped up on Orphan Black for a few seasons too. That's where I know him the most. And then he's replaced the first guy that played Dario. And that's all I watched.
From Deadpool 1. Yeah.
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah, he's the villain.
Mhm.
Francis.
I saw Deadpool 1 once. It was fine. But
All right, just move on, Ant. All right, we're tired of your terrible takes on this podcast.
Was it better than fine? I don't know. Is it a hot take to say Deadpool was fine?
It is a very hot take.
A little bit of a hot take, yeah.
If I said a fine equals like a 7, you think it's better than like extremely better than a 7? I don't know.
Not extremely better.
Yeah,
but
so
it's
come on.
not a fine movie. It's a good
You know
movie.
what? I'll be honest. Not a fan of Ryan Reynolds. I don't think he's very funny. If I was 14, I would think Ryan Reynolds is hilarious. I don't think he's funny now.
Okay. You see, that's a good argument to make. I get that. Ryan Reynolds is not for everybody.
Yeah, but that's it. That's all I've watched. So before we get into this week's movie, we're going to take a quick break and listen to some ads and pay those bills. So we'll be right back. And welcome back. And now it's time to get into our movie of the week. This week, we decided to, because this podcast used to be trying to tie things into new releases, which then new releases all of a sudden stopped happening. But they started to go streaming. So we decided to talk about a movie that everybody's been talking about, well, at least within the past 3 weeks or so. And that movie is Wonder Woman 1984. It's the new DC movie. So we're going to talk about where we're coming from. Tia, we'll start with you. Where are you coming from? Wonder Woman 1984.
I think my expectations for this movie were super high, not necessarily because Warner Brothers has given us any reason to have super high expectations with their DC movies, and not necessarily because I thought the first Wonder Woman was that great, but I'm telling you, that first trailer for Wonder Woman 1984 blew me away. I thought it was amazing. When it first came out, I was obsessed. I kept rewatching it. I said to myself, this is going to be the best. It's going to be so good. It's going to just really be up there. I am pumped for this. And then Wonder Woman 1984 came out, and I actually watched it on Christmas Day at nighttime. I had gotten home from my parents, and I sat there and said, I have nothing else better to do. Let me put it on. And when I tell you that I was really disappointed, and I think that I tried to justify the movie a little when I first watched it, but now that I've had time to let it sink in and really think back on it, and then rewatching it today, I mean, God, you even mentioned, Anthony, before we started this show, that there are a few things, and I'll mention those as well as we go through the podcast, that, like, to me, I really liked Pedro Pascal in it. Now, I know that his story was kind of loose, and at the end, it was kind of, he wasn't really like a villain at the end of all of it, but I think that what Pedro Pascal was given, he did the best he could with it. Maybe I'm just apologizing because I'm a super huge fan of his, and it's not just from The Mandalorian. I loved him even when he was in Narcos. So I just think he's a fantastic actor, and I think that he acted circles around everyone in this film.
Sure. Dan, what about you?
I am in agreement with Tia. When I saw the trailer, I usually temper my expectations when it comes to DC movies because you never know what you're gonna get. It's usually not great. But
So you kind of know what you're gonna get.
you kind of know. I mean, I like that some people would die. I don't get it, but listen, that's you, and that's great. But I had just watched it, and I was seeing the reviews coming out for weeks, so I really had low expectations. It's like, it can't be that bad. The first one was pretty good, save for some spotty CG and some weird choices. Like the third act for that movie was not very good. So I said, all right, but still, it's a competent origin movie. It would be like middle of the pack Marvel, I'd say. So seeing it even with lowered expectations, I was so disappointed in this movie. There's so many plot holes. The acting is very wooden at times. Just the MacGuffin of it, it makes no sense. And we'll get into it as we go along. But I agree, Pedro Pascal was fine. I enjoyed him, and I enjoy him in pretty much everything he does. I think Kristen Wiig was kind of miscast. Really didn't need Chris Pine in this. This might be a hot take. I think he's the worst Chris in Hollywood. He's the
it's not
attractive
Chris Pratt.
Chris.
It's Chris Pine. It's Chris Pine.
I think attractiveness. I don't think he's that, especially in this movie. He's not that good looking, in my opinion.
Dan's very superficial with his ranking of Chris's.
Well, everyone's doing it. Why can't I do it? Why can't Dan throw his two
What is it
cents?
about Chris Pine that's just not revving your engine there, Dan?
He has no shape. He has super nice hair, and that's kind of it.
So he's not thick? That's your big problem with him? He's not thick?
Yeah, like all the other Chris's are just like, you could bounce a quarter off their abs. Get $1 back. But with Chris Pine, it's like you lose the quarter, it gets sunken in there. It's too flabby.
Are you calling Chris Pine doughy?
Is he a dad bod?
Yeah, he's rocking the dad bod.
I don't know if that's true.
Oh, look at it! Look at his arms, and they're like my arms. All right, he's probably benching
But you work out.
165. He's not putting up good numbers.
As Chris Hemsworth #1 fan, I don't disagree with you at all. But man, you're really dragging this dude through the mud. You're going further than I would.
Well,
I prefer the other ones.
Let me say, he's a fine actor. I enjoy him most of the time. Just looks wise. Everyone gives him the benefit of the doubt, man. I don't see it. You know what it is? I get what's going on with one of the other Chris's, but we're talking looks here. Just straight up looks. And I think the other Chris's have him beat by a long shot.
Okay, so hypothetical situation here. You're at a bar.
Yes.
Chris Pratt and Chris Pine's giving you the eyes. You don't know anything about either of them. You'd rather go home with Chris Pratt.
I would, because...
And then he tries to convert you to his evangelical...
Right.
Yeah.
But
that's the morning.
In the morning, yeah, sure.
Sober Dan's not going to fall for that.
Right. All I care about is just resting on those abs, right? And he's much funnier than Chris Pine is.
Sure. Yeah.
And in the comedies that I've seen Chris Pine in, it's not great.
I don't know if I've seen him in a comedy.
What is it? This Means War?
Well, nobody looks good in that movie.
Not
literally.
Tom Hardy.
Everybody looks good in that movie, right. But not anyone comes off good in that movie.
So, I mean, bottom line, Gal Gadot could...
Well, yeah. I mean, it's been 70 years, girl. Come on. You got to get it.
Yeah. And then she holds on to it for another 20 years, 30 years. It's like, Jesus, lady. Enough's enough, all right? There's better Chris's out there.
Yeah. Wasting what might be mathematically the most attractive person in the whole world.
Yeah.
in Gal Gadot.
Yeah. And I don't see
scientifically, it just lines up perfectly.
And this is coming from a guy who definitely outkicked his coverage.
Sure.
You can do better. All right? It's not worth it, Gal. It's not worth it. But yeah, I was not a fan of it.
All right, Mark, same question. Would you fuck Chris Pine?
Yes.
I would do it for the story, don't get me wrong, but if I had the choice.
All right, Mark, what did you think about it?
So I didn't see as much of the trailer as it seems like Tia and Dan saw. So going into this, I just wanted to see it because I actually literally followed the Twitter a roller coaster ride that went on Christmas Day. I watched it go, people counting down the hours until it got released. Then the first reviews came in about 2.5 hours later, and it was like, good. And then the whole thing fell off the shelf, and it just started getting torn a new one for about a good rest of the evening. So watching that live happen, I was like, all right, at some point I got to watch this movie. And I was so glad when Dan suggested doing this, because it gave me an excuse to watch it. But going into it, I'll admit I haven't watched Wonder Woman since it came out, so I forget a lot of it. As most DC movies tend to do to me. I was going in pretty much blind, like having no idea of any of the clues they were giving away for Chris Pine's character that apparently were happening in the beginning after she wished for him. One of the two major things that I came out of this with is, one, I agreed with the one thing you brought up from Letterboxd, is that I would have much rather watched the 2.5-hour movie of Chris Pine's character discovering the 80s than this movie. Just because that was the movie that made me smile the most. And the second thing that I think we'll either have a deeper conversation later or get into, but I want to make sure I mention first out, there was no 80s music in a movie set in the 80s, and there were plenty of opportunities to at least slip something in. This movie could have taken place at any other point in time outside. The only thing that ties it to the time period of mid-80s is the whole theme of selfishness, and this being a very Reagan era, Reaganomics, I get mine, you don't get anything, sort of yuppie culture that was going on at the time is really the only thing that ties it to 1984. They don't do anything else to really tell you the year. Like there's no music. They try to do it with the clothing and all, but that was really nothing. That was probably my most disappointing thing in the movie, is they didn't give you any fun tie-ins to the time period.
So many missed opportunities.
And there's probably plenty of breakdancing or hip-hop songs, I can't think of one off the top of my head, that you could have put in when they showed the dancers instead of just generic hip-hop music, which is what they put in the caption.
Oh, no, they didn't. They didn't put generic hip-hop music in the breakdance scene. They're playing opera in that scene. And that's one of the things that blew my mind when I'm watching it back.
On the captions, it says generic hip-hop music.
Oh, no. It's like... It is.
So they were lying to death people, is what you're saying.
It is royalty-free opera music.
Oh, boy. They have Hans Zimmer. Why are they doing royalty-free opera?
It's probably Hans Zimmer's, orchestra or whatever. But they don't have to pay publishing rights to it.
Just like real quick, everyone's take on this, because I might ruffle some feathers here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Wonder Woman molests a man. Does she not?
It's hard not to call it a sexual assault.
Yes.
Because in 1984, Ghostbusters comes out with a movie where Peter Venkman will not have sex with his soon-to-be girlfriend because she's possessed. This is essentially the same situation.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Tia, do you know what I'm getting at?
Do you mean it's because of the fact that Chris Pine's character is in the body of someone else?
Correct.
Is that where we're getting at with this?
Exactly.
Yeah, I assume we were going to talk about that like when we got to it, because that was just so weird to me. Because my biggest question is that guy's like mind and consciousness shut off during that time? I mean, what happens to that actual guy?
He's in the sunken place.
Why couldn't that wish just appear out of thin air like all the other wishes do?
Like he's a mannequin that came to life.
Right.
Yeah. Right?
They explained this in Mannequin.
This could have been Mannequin 3 for all intents and purposes. Like, I don't know. I was in a store and I'm wearing these clothes and there's pins on my back. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here.
Right. And you're not ruining some man's life. What if that man was married?
I was going to say, isn't he though? Like, doesn't he have like a family or no?
He sleeps on a futon, so definitely not.
Oh, okay.
The one guy wishes for his ancestral home to be delivered back, and the fucking giant wall shoots up. Don't tell me you can't just wish back Chris Pine's character. It's possible, all right?
Yeah.
They never explained why, like, he's in some other dude's body. It's just so weird.
No sense.
Well, I guess it's the whole monkey's paw thing, right? Like, you have to be really specific or else you're going to get a fucked up wish, right?
I suppose. Maybe.
It's like, oh, well, your boyfriend's back, but he's in the body of another person, and now you have to deal with the ramifications of sexually assaulting this guy.
And she accepts it like super quickly.
Yeah.
No questions asked. Like, oh,
Right.
here's some random dude who says some vaguely familiar line.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
my dead boyfriend.
Now let's go back to your apartment and fuck on your futon. That was one thing. I was like, why don't they just go back to her apartment?
Yeah, it's
That's where my head
They
was
had
at.
to show that futon, man.
that's a
Yeah.
huge plot hole.
Yeah.
The music thing is such a big thing because this would make this movie so much better.
Yes.
Like it's such a simple change, make this movie 100 times better. That whole because you're right. The most fun in this movie is the let's make over Steve Trevor scene and then him experiencing 1984 DC. But it's not as fun as it should be
It's quick.
because there's no fun music behind his little like montage of changing.
Yeah,
Like
there's
whereas
changing
girls
montage music.
girls just want to have fun. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's 1984, but essentially a song like that would make that scene so much more fun. Because the best parts of this movie, like I didn't love the fact they brought Steve Trevor back, but if that means that you get to see Gal Gadot and Chris Pine play off of each other, that's the best part of this movie. Besides Pedro Pascal, who does a very hammy performance, but it's fun too. But you know what? I'll have it, but probably should have been like, just resurrected. I'm back.
Right.
I'm in this guy's body. But essentially, probably a monkey's paw situation. Should have been specific, Diana.
However you feel about Captain Marvel, whether you hate it or you love it, at least they used the time period's music to its advantage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very least, you could have done something similar. Just even in the mall scene when she's beating up those thugs, you could have you could have anything playing, like a Van Halen song, like I said before. The album 1984 came out. So you're telling me you couldn't play a catchy Van Halen song?
Yeah.
Anything, just to spice it up.
The trailer had really good music to it. So why didn't the movie? I mean, the 80s are fun. The 80s have a great soundtrack, whether it's rock, whether it's hip hop, or, poppy sort of music. I mean, any genre has great music to it in the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's one of the best decades for music, I think.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, Wonder Woman 1984 from 2020, directed by Patty Jenkins, who directed Monster as well as the first Wonder Woman. Starring Gal Gadot is the pronunciation we're going to go with. Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, Pedro Pascal, Robin Wright, Connie Nielsen. IMDb score of 5.5 and a Rotten Tomatoes score is holding steady at 60%. Budget of $200 million. And as of today, or yesterday really, worldwide box office of $132 million. So they spent $200 million, not a dime of it on music. I don't understand that. It really feels like it was somebody else's note. Like if there are scenes that feel like they're supposed to have music there, like music you heard of before, and then it's just not. It's Hans Zimmer music. It's like, and that's part of the problem with this movie is like this movie is stupid. But there are times when it's fun and stupid, and then there's just times when it's stupid. I like the fun and stupid scenes a little bit more. Like the very first scene, Amazon Ninja Warrior, stupid. Scene after that in the mall, fun. And stupid. It's very Sam Raimi Spider-Man. And they almost try and turn Wonder Woman into the DC Spider-Man, which I'm fine with. Someone needs to be Spider-Man. Someone needs to be knocking out petty criminals. I'm cool with that. If it's got to be Wonder Woman because Batman's a sociopath in this universe, and Superman doesn't give a fuck about anybody in this universe, then I guess it's Wonder Woman's turn.
I agree. The stark contrast between Kevin Feige and whoever is running DC was Jeff Johns, anybody.
Zack Snyder.
Snyder. The stark contrast is you could see how everything is so thought out meticulously in Marvel. In DC, it's, Wonder Woman was in World War I, and then in Justice League, you went into hiding, or no, Batman v Superman, you went into hiding all these years, except for 1984, which everyone just plain forgets somehow. So she didn't go into hiding all that time. They're stumbling ass backwards into things. It's so problematic when you contradict yourself in these movies. Like, oh, well, that's not canon. This is what's canon now, and this is what we have going on. For God's sakes, they're working on a second universe. They can't even get the first goddamn universe right. I think that's what's so frustrating, because Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman, they transcend just comic books. They're modern mythology. I think Warner Brothers, I think they kind of stumbled into Wonder Woman being good in the first one. They, like, despite themselves, because from what I heard, the studio kind of wanted to cut some scenes that would have helped the movie. But yeah, like, this was such a huge missed opportunity. Like, you're building off of arguably your biggest character in your expanded universe.
All right, I think that's time to take a break. But Tia, do you want to plug your own show this week?
Oh, I get a break. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, Dan, for doing this all the time. I very, very, very much do. As Anthony introduced me, I do the top 10 with Tia, me and my co-host Brittany. We do our podcast every Sunday, and we just come up with top 10 lists. We just recently did the top 10 worst movie sequels, which was a lot of fun. So we'll have lists like that, top 10 best couples on screen, or we even do actor spotlights, and if we like a show, we'll do highlights from that season. Like I mentioned American Gods earlier, and we'll definitely do a top 10 best moments from American Gods season 3. So you can check us out on any platform that you listen to podcasts. And of course, you can find me at geekvibesnation.com, and you can find me on our YouTube page, Geek Vibes Podcast. So just make sure you check it out. Give me any suggestions that you have. Let me know if you have any ideas for any top 10 lists. And yeah, just make sure you check it out. Thanks, guys.
All right, great. And we are going to take a quick break, but before we do, we're going to take a minute to listen to some messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast,
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh hi, didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back, and now it's time to get into the plot for Wonder Woman 1984. We open on Amazon Ninja Warrior, an entirely too long scene in which Diana, as a young child, competes against fully grown Amazonian women in some sort of biathlon, or triathlon, or decathlon, something. For most of it, she's in the lead, and then during the horse race sequence, she gets knocked off her horse, so she winds up having to take a shortcut in order to catch up with everyone else. She tries to win, but Robin Wright prevents her from finishing, I think. I don't know if it was her or Connie Nielsen, but I don't know. And the moral of this 11-minute scene is that you can't cheat.
Connie Nielsen.
And the moral of this 11-minute scene is that you can't cheat to get what you want, which is the moral of the film, but this is an entirely too bloated way to tell this moral, and we'd get it even without this scene.
Can you imagine being bested by a child? You're a fierce warrior, and you lose handily to a child.
Yeah.
That's not good.
The sun.
Yeah, like you should be kicked out of Where are they?
Themyscira.
Themyscira. Yeah, you should just be kicked out.
You've never been forced to play Roblox with an 8-year-old.
I started the scene liking the scene because, you know, I'm all about women supporting women, right? So sure. I saw it and I was like, yeah, blah, blah, I love this. But I think, as Anthony just said, it went on for way too long. It could have been 5 minutes at best, but the fact that it just kept going. And I think that that's the scene, apparently, that Warner Brothers originally wanted to cut, and Patty Jenkins, like, fiercely was determined to make it so that wasn't cut from the film.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to side with billionaires against a millionaire, but I see their point. I really do.
Sometimes they get it right.
Yeah. Like I would love to know why she thought this was so important, because The moral of the story is, well, you shouldn't cheat. I was like, great, show her in Amazon elementary school and she cheats on the test. Something that's 3 minutes long. And that's probably cheaper. You could have spent all the money you spent on the graphics for this. Could have spent and bought, a Simple Minds song.
You still could have just shortened it down. You didn't have to do all of these crazy obstacles. You do it where, all right, she jumps through some of the things. She rides the horse quickly and he gets knocked off like immediately.
Yeah.
Not have her running through the entire island to do it. Like, all right, we get it. It's such
like a 50-yard dash.
Right. It's such a roundabout way to tell us that something that we all know. Cheating is bad.
That's the whole thing. It's just such a generic platitude.
Yeah. It's nothing groundbreaking here. The first Wonder Woman had a pretty good message. It was, even though man is in its heart, they're a warlike creature, there's still love there. There's still some good. And that's so much deeper than cheating is wrong, Diana. Don't cheat.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole thing is just about the truth is better than anything. I don't know. She has this whole diatribe at the end, which is like, again, it's generic platitudes that's, I don't know. Moving on. Because this movie moves on, and now it's the 1980s, and we see some leg warmers, 80s advertisements, and an obvious scam artist named Max Lord that doesn't not look like a 1980s era Donald Trump. And Wonder Woman is sticking around DC stopping petty crimes, which honestly I'm okay with. I don't mind that. We then cut to another scene that feels like an opening scene in an entirely different tone. A team of thieves hold up a jewelry store in a mall, which also has ancient artifacts in the back room, which I thought was weird. I'll have to check.
You don't remember? I would say you don't remember the Freehold Mall having the Lost Ark and all that.
There are like 4 jewelry stores in every single mall. It would make sense that they're laundering stolen artifacts.
That'd be great. That's the plot of the next Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah,
we got to go take over this K Jewelers.
That would explain why the Cherry Hill Mall is still open.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have like a bunch of Monets, lost, like stuff from World War II that the Germans stole.
The stolen artwork.
Yeah.
It's stupid, it's goofy, but I prefer this opening scene to the previous opening scene.
It's so 80s with the mall and all of that. I mean, it was fine. I thought that, as you said, they glossed over the fact that there was just this room full of like ancient artifacts, like really quickly.
Yeah.
It felt like we needed more answers to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So they try and throw one kid off the side because he doesn't want to go back to prison, which if he just kept running, the probably he'd have a better chance. But
it escalated very quickly.
Oh my god, yeah. That one dude with the flat top haircut just like screaming at the one dude, no!
Yeah, well, what are you doing that for? That's not going to help things.
Because he drops the bag of loot, too, in order to grab that kid.
I'm not going back to jail, but I'm going to hang this child over the second-story balcony.
Like, what does he think's going to happen to a guy that drops a child off of off the second floor of a mall? Not go to jail?
Go easy on him. Yeah. Again, just something that wasn't probably not thought through all the way.
Yeah. And all the actions of that guy throughout the entire scene show you why he ended up in jail in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. You're bad at your job, which is a thief. So she rounds them all up and then drops them on a cop car for no specific reason.
Kills them, essentially.
Yeah, it doesn't kill them, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, they could die from internal bleeding. We don't know.
Sure.
But they are alive when we cut away.
It's really kind of hard to destroy the top of a car.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It is 3 guys, so maybe, that's 600 pounds, let's say.
Okay. You think that does the trick?
Yeah.
And from that height, yeah.
No more, no less.
Do you guys wonder why Wonder Woman was there? Like, did she know? Did she hear things? Did she hear rumblings about this sort of robbery? Was she in the mall shopping and then decided to TVs. Change or something?
She got all those TVs in her closet, which she said she doesn't own a TV.
Yeah, that what? There you go.
So that scene sucked so hard because it was so underwhelming, and Chris Pine's character's like, oh my god, this is. For a second, I swear to God, I thought they were gonna make like a Batcave joke.
Yeah. look at all these 13-inch screens.
Right. Oh, that was so underwhelming. So underwhelming. There's a few scenes that are very like they're supposed to hit hard and they do not land.
Yeah. She sure brought him to like a movie theater. Wouldn't that have been awesome?
That would have
1984, like it would have been 1984. Ghostbusters, I guess, or whatever Warner Brothers came out with that year. Just big screen, full color.
You know what they should have done? They should have copied Stranger Things verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been more fun. Right, running around in the arcades. He could have been doing a flight simulator at the arcade. Oh my goodness! Why am I making this better now?
Yeah.
Stranger Things just knows how to do 80s cheese perfectly, whereas Wonder Woman 1984 wanted to do that 80s cheese, but it just came off tacky. It didn't come off fun. It didn't come off nostalgic or anything. It was just like, wow, I never want to go back to the 80s, even though every other movie and TV show makes you want to go back to the 80s. And Wonder Woman 1984 is like, thank God we don't live in that era anymore.
Maybe that was Patty Jenkins' real plan.
Right.
Hey guys, this is what it was really fucking like in the 80s.
To destroy the 80s.
Just snap those rose-colored glasses in half.
Stop deifying this time period.
It sucked. Reagan ignored the AIDS crisis.
Right. You mean not Reagan?
It's like, Patty, maybe Wonder Woman is not the movie to air these grievances.
Right. Yeah, because when you think Wonder Woman, you think the 80s. That's what comes to my mind. This movie really should have just been a sequel to Justice League. It really should have come out after that.
Yeah, I don't know. The things that I don't hate about this movie is kind of in that world of when they almost get it right. Everything with Steve Trevor learning the 80s, kind of mirroring what he did for her during the World War I era. That's the stuff that I would want to see more. Like Mark said, it's like that Letterboxd review. It's 100% right. It didn't need to be 2.5 hours. 100%. 100 minutes. This movie could have been light and breezy, just a small story told. I would have been fine with that.
I agree.
And then she goes home, and she still pines for Steve Trevor, which is the most unbelievable thing in this movie. It's been 70 years, and she knew him for maybe 3 weeks. And she's Gal Gadot. She hasn't found anybody that was his equal.
He must have laid the pipe really good.
We're thinking 11, maybe, minimum.
Yeah, had to have been, right? Just an all-night sesh.
I mean, there wasn't any other good-looking guys really that I know Dan was hating on Chris Pine a little before in his looks, but I mean, in between that time and 1984, I mean, really was there that many good-looking dudes out there? I think her standards were just too high. She saw Steve Trevor and she was like, I can't do better than that.
He ruined her.
But Paul Newman was in the 60s.
But that's true. Yeah.
That's true.
Well, hey, Luke.
You're right.
If there was a twist that she had a tryst with Paul Newman, that'd been perfect. That would clear all that up. Oh well, there was the 60s and Paul,
right?
Over dinner, that early dinner with Barbara, just talking about. Oh well, I had Paul Newman in the 60s. I guess it would show that she was 90 years old or whatever she is. 150, and that would raise some questions.
So that brings up a good point. How long can you keep the same job without anyone noticing that you never age? Right? Because she's been an archaeologist or whatever the hell, and no one's ever said you've been here for literally ages.
It's your badge is looking a little old there.
Yeah, right. So that's another thing. Also, every guy, and as Tia said, there wasn't any good-looking guys. I think every guy in this movie, other than Steve Trevor, is a total creep.
Oh yeah.
There's not one nice person.
When she goes to the gala, I'm like, oh, I totally understand why she doesn't like to go to these things.
To be fair, that's probably what really happens to her. Everywhere she goes, hey, oh my God, it's Gal Gadot. Yeah, I get that. It happens to me every time. Oh my God, it's Dan Aquino.
The only thing I was confused with the aging thing is, when does that stop? I mean, because they clearly show her as a small child.
It's the same with Superman. It's he ages, and then all of a sudden he's 30, 28, and then he just stops. He's that age for 100 years.
I would even take the explanation of, they age normally on the island, and once they leave the island, they stay that age. Sometimes you just got to give me a throwaway line.
Sure.
Just one sentence.
It's a 2.5 hour movie.
All right, I'm in.
Done it.
We're already busting at the seams for the runtime, Mark. We can't
No
spare.
time.
We can't
No
spare
time to
one
add
line.
anything.
And then
He
when-
wanted it to be 3 hours.
Oh, there you see. She knows.
He listens. It's actually the opposite with the thing.
Yes.
But,
It's the reason why we don't do 2.5 hour movies.
Yep.
And then she goes and gets wine drunk at a restaurant by herself like a real weirdo.
Now, listen, I will defend that. Okay.
So this
I'll
is great
defend
because
that.
now we have a female perspective. We've never had that before.
And then we meet Barbara Minerva, who's a geek, and she starts a job at the Smithsonian and maybe wants to bang Diana. She,
Oh,
like, falls in
she
love with her meat.
definitely does.
Yeah.
That's not even a maybe. That's not even a might. She saw Diana, and as soon as she laid eyes on her, she was like, "Oh, you want to go for lunch?" That wasn't a no. I'm sorry. That was not a casual. Hey, we're both girls. Let's be friends type thing. That was a date.
Serious Doomy vibes.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Did you guys feel with Barbara's character, by the way, that it was very much like you guys saw the movie Not Another Teen Movie, right? The main character who has glasses and a ponytail, and they're like, "We're gonna give you a makeover," and all they do is take the glasses off, and like that was Barbara's whole thing. I was like, "This is so cringy."
Her transformation is astoundingly goofy. Cheetah in the comics is supposed to be like Wonder Woman's equal, essentially.
Yeah.
And at no point did I ever feel like, wow, this is a formidable foe. I just looked at her and I was like, yeah, like I feel like she belongs in the Bengals.
Look, you guys don't understand. When you have 20/20 vision with us, we're just automatically cooler. So when you get cooler, your vision gets better. It's just what happens.
Yeah, again, another Spider-Man moment, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh yeah, when she's like, "Oh, conveniently don't need my glasses anymore." As someone who wears contacts, I'm like, "Shut up."
Yeah. And then also she's wearing eyeliner. That's a thing that, you get when you make that wish to be. I want to be just like Diana. Eyeliner, leopard print boots, thigh highs. Like, yeah.
Apparently, all she needed was a good stylist. She didn't even need a wish. She just needed someone to teach her some fashion tips.
That's really all it was. And I'll be fair, in that dress, she looks great.
She looks fabulous.
So then why not? That's all you needed. Just do that.
She didn't have the confidence to rock a dress and heels like that.
Nope.
So only upon the wish does she have the confidence to even try something like that out.
Yep. So they look over some artifacts. One in particular catches their eye. Not really sure if it's real or fake, but the Latin inscription says something about granting a wish. And we see Diana do that mile-long stare. That means she's thinking of something. And then some guy wishes for a cup of coffee and he gets it. So they start thinking, oh, then maybe this is a thing. Then Diana feels bad for Barbara being such an unbearable nerd that she invites her to an early dinner. They go to dinner. They do the whole, you're the pretty one. No, you're the pretty one thing. And then she talks about Steve. And then that's the end of the dinner.
And that's the end of that chapter.
This is like one of those other movies you watch where like, and that scene happened.
Yeah.
She talks about Steve. Talks about how being a pilot. And then dinner ends, and then Barbara's good heart is rewarded by being nearly raped in the park. She's saved by Diana, who pushes him about 30 yards across the park. And then back at the Smithsonian, Barbara wishes that she could be just like Diana.
That she can wear heels and a dress.
Yes, she wants to be just so cool. Yeah.
That scene also was like more proof that Barbara had a crush on Diana, because she's like, I want to be just like Diana. Sexy as fuck.
Right. It's not like kind or anything like that. It's just, I want to be just like super bangable.
Yeah.
The wish should have been I just want to fuck Diana once.
You're right.
I just want to experience that. The next morning, Barbara wakes up and now she's super cool. She can walk in heels and men notice her. And then she gets introduced to Max Lord. He says he's a wealthy donor interested in touring the facility. Then Diana comes in and immediately sees through Max's smarmy charisma. And...
Oh, can I go back for a sec?
Yeah,
now
sure.
that I'm thinking about it, isn't that whole statement, by the way, not your statement, by the way, that I want to preference that, but that whole sentiment, like vaguely sexist, not to like bring that here, me being the woman or anything, but like your value as a woman is being noticed by men.
Yeah,
like Patty,
problem.
let's do better here.
Yeah, and
fair, yeah.
she's supposed to be advocating for strong women, and you're automatically having one of your characters that's what she wishes for, is to be noticed by men. And it's a little contradictory, but
Their whole relationship and the reason why she becomes Cheetah is sort of sexist too. It's like because she's jealous of essentially is her whole motivation. She's jealous of Diana's beauty and her men are attracted to her.
it's a very weak motivation, I think.
It's a weak motivation, and also like this is how my brain goes, where I'm looking at like two-sided, where it's like that's weak, right? But then at the same time, it's like, listen, plenty of girls could probably relate to being like really nerdy and wanting to be seen more and all that, and they're essentially in this movie punished for wanting to be more than what they are. Like they want to be visible. And it's like, well, you know, you shouldn't have that. That's punishable. I don't know. Now that I'm like thinking about it.
No, I agree, because it's essentially you're just saying the only good thing about your main character is that she's so pretty, and not that she's a kick-ass warrior. And her weakness is men, right? Chris Pine, Steve Trevor is her weakness. Well, you know, that doesn't really ring true of the character. The actual Wonder Woman. In the comic books, she's not always pining for a man. She's out there kicking ass. She's going toe to toe with Superman. So it's just strange. I agree with you, Tia.
I still feel like her wish should have been to get to Diana. Hers should have been more about maybe the island and her people than this guy she met 70 years ago or whatever. You know.
Yeah. It could have been literally anything else.
She wants that life-changing dick, man.
That's right. I had him for that one night. I need that night again.
You don't know how many disappointing lays that she has had in these decades. Like,
that's true.
Since then, she's like, no guy is as good. I'd like to have that again.
I guarantee you she hasn't had sex in that many years. I guarantee it. So she's probably just like, it's probably dusty and just terrible.
I feel like there's had to be like a period of time where she was just like, oh, well, let's play the field. That's the Depression. Get some of that banker dick or something like that.
During the Depression,
not working out for her.
She went back to the island during the Depression.
And then maybe eventually she's like, man, no one's comparing. And then she just started that shrine, and then she was never getting anything. Even if she wanted to bring a guy back, this dude sees like a shrine to Steve Trevor and is like, I'm out. You're hot. You're not that hot.
Right. Where she went, and all of this would have been solved if she just would have went and bought herself something that requires batteries.
Yes. Yeah, and she just breaks them every time. Oh, God. Not again. No. She is so powerful. Her thighs just crush whatever it is she has, and like nothing can withstand. There's no plastic in the world that could withstand Wonder Woman's mighty climax.
She tries to go back and return it and say, like, this did not do what it was advertised to do. And they're like, lady, this is our top selling product here.
My dog got to it. My dog broke it. Again?
She's like titanium.
She's the one that started Adam and Eve. That's what it was, I think.
She needs to walk over to NASA. It's like, I got a problem. You guys figure this thing out.
Right. Yeah. Like, what's the strongest metal you have?
That makes me worried for Steve Trevor, though. Like, if she's breaking.
Yeah. And that kind of brings it to the Mallrats conversation. Is someone strong enough to handle Superman? Mm-hmm. Now, is there a mortal man who is strong enough to handle Diana? And I can't imagine that being so, because, you know, in the throes of passion, sometimes you tend to, lose control. And with someone who can lift, she's in comic books, she's been able to move universes. I feel like you kind of have to be careful with the guy's member. And I don't know if she has that finesse.
Max Lord goes back to his office. It's all a facade. His company is failing at best. At worst, it's a Ponzi scheme, and he gets called out by an investor right in front of his kid. And he gets really upset when someone calls him a loser. It's like someone we know. Diana goes to the donor party even though she didn't want to, and it's abundantly clear the reason why she doesn't attend these sorts of events, because all the men just are at half-mast watching her walk by. And Barbara gets the same attention when she walks in. And we get a fake Frankie Goes to Hollywood song. As we mentioned, this is one of the biggest problems with the movie, the lack of needle drops. Max meets up with Barbara and tells her that they should go somewhere more quiet, and they go into her office, and Max offers to have the stone looked at by some people he knows. And then they fuck, and he takes the stone.
Do they? Is that, I guess it's implicated.
Headcanon in my head is that they fuck.
Yeah, I think they do.
Like, why wouldn't they? Right.
I think he totally, like, did that to, get the stone, and Barbara was feeling all confident and everything, which again falls into the trope of don't step outside your lane because this is what happens.
See, I like this. I like how you're kind of bringing it to that next level. We probably would have made jokes about it and just sounded like a-holes.
No, you guys are fine.
And then some dude approaches Diana at a party. And surprised, Steve Trevor has possessed some rando guy and has tracked down Diana. And as we mentioned, this is problematic at best. So Diana and Steve go to this rando guy's apartment and fuck on his futon. Max, meanwhile, takes the stone back to his office, and he makes a very complicated wish of becoming the stone, which, man, pick something else. Just be like, I really wish my oil derricks would strike oil, and then boom.
He becomes Jafar.
He becomes the Wishmaster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's even better.
Yeah, he essentially wished for more wishes,
Yeah,
except he can't make those wishes.
Yeah.
It's so lame.
So I like the monkey's paw storyline of this whole thing. Like, I'm with that. I don't like that he becomes it. I thought that was a little silly. But if this whole movie was about, like, this guy basically gets, like, a monkey's paw and he tries to basically take over the world with that, it's a silly, stupid idea, but it sounds fun. I'd like to see that movie. Here is just like everything just really just amps up out of nowhere, where there's like just bedlam in the streets eventually.
Yeah. You would think that wishes are going to contradict other wishes in the world, right? Someone's going to wish for world peace. Another person's going to wish for more nukes. So what happens there? Eventually
gets what they want.
But then you don't get world peace. There's a conundrum. There's a paradox.
Take it up with the Wishmaster. I don't know.
I will.
From the trailers, I thought that his character was going to have some sort of trickery sort of powers or something like that. I mean, that would have been kind of cool. Almost like an illusionist, such as Mysterio or something like that, to make Diana believe that Steve Trevor came back. That's how I really thought it was going to go. But this direction was so weird. As you guys are saying, Jesus, talk about going to 1,000 quickly. Instead of just wishing like, hey, I wish my business was successful. No, I want this mysterious stone that I know really nothing about to absorb into me so that other people can make wishes and I can grant them, but on my behalf. What?
It's not a well thought out plan.
Nah. Which is why his business was failing.
Yeah. There's a guy that's running a Ponzi scheme. He's not the authority on good ideas.
That's a good point.
So then Barbara goes to the gym and realizes that she now has superpowers. And then Max goes to pay a visit to Simon to get him to wish for his money back, which in turn comes with the price of a tax evasion rap. Then we have a Steve Trevor dress-up montage, which should be fun, and Gal and Chris are fun in this scene, but the lack of soundtrack here is deadly. And then she takes him out into modern 1980s DC, which kind of works as kind of like a mirror to her going out into World War I era. But then they see breakdancers and they play opera over it, so it stops working.
Yeah, it comes to a screeching halt.
It's like, what are they dancing to?
Right.
Show us, damn it.
Maria.
Claire de Lune.
Then Max goes back to his office and the phone's ringing off the hook. The oil wells have struck oil. And the receptionist wishes for more help. And then more help comes. And Barbara is just so cool. She doesn't even need her glasses anymore.
I like that segue. This person wishes for help. And then Barbara's so cool.
She tells Diana that she gave the stone to Max Lord. So Diana and Steve go to Max Lord's, and he's swamped with people, cars, police. They sneak into his office, but he's not there, but they realize that the stone is very powerful and that Max is on his way to Cairo.
This is the scene, correct me if I'm wrong, where Diana picks up the ring that's left from the stone and reads it, and she's like, it's the language of the gods, right?
Yeah.
Tell me that scene just wasn't like so vague and cringy. It's like when you're writing something and you're like, I don't know, and then they went here or something. It's just, it felt so, she's like, oh my god, it's the language of the gods. I don't know what god though, but it's a god. It's definitely a god, a bad one too.
Yeah.
And it's
Before it was Latin.
wow.
And it's very powerful, whatever it is.
Yes.
So powerful. So I just thought that was like really cringy and like poorly acted.
To your point, Tia, instead of having the Amazon Ninja Warrior, why not give us a little insight into the god?
Yeah, who
right?
is responsible for it?
Right, like how they open up with Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman, about Ares. Like they give the whole mythology. Why not give the mythology on this wish-fulfilling god? I think that would have been more interesting than watching a child beat grown people. Almost, yes, a cheating child.
Yeah, I didn't like that scene.
So they go to the Smithsonian, which has a fully fueled aircraft and a runway. And Steve jizzes his pants every time he sees a different one.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I like how, so as we all know, World War I fighter planes and jet fighters are basically the same thing. I mean,
One
if
to
you know
one.
how to,
Yep.
Yeah, if you know how to fly one plane, you can fly them all. Any pilot will tell you that. It's another huge plot hole where, oh, I can fly this. I can definitely fly this. And he can fly it somehow. All these gadgets and the computer technology that is so vastly superior to World War I technology, he's able to master it in a matter of seconds.
It's definitely something I've thought about. It doesn't make me like or dislike this movie more or less.
But it's just something that's glaringly weird.
Yeah. I was also thinking about how fast this thing was going, or the lack of speed it had when it was flying over DC. But that's just me.
But that's what gets you. Not that he's able to fly the jet plane that is 40, 50 years, 60 years in the future.
It's all branches on the same tree, basically.
Sure.
He just can feel it, man. That's why he can fly it.
Smart guy.
Oh, God.
That guy, one astronaut guy dressed up in a spacesuit at the Air and Space Museum, gave him a pamphlet. I'm sure that was how to fly a jet.
He was just vibing with that airplane.
Oh, I hate that excuse too that he gives. It's just the wind and being connected to it. Oh, shut up. People spend their entire life trying to fly these things. It's not that simple. It's $1 billion piece of technology. It's just the wind, though, man. Just connect with it, dude.
Yeah, tell it to JFK Jr. That's for my Q peeps out there. You know what's up.
Yeah. Now, if we start getting message from them, we're in trouble. I blame you, Aunt.
I'm being cynical at the scene, but it has a nice moment of them flying through the fireworks. But it should have an 80s pop song behind it.
Yep.
It's about that I kind of disliked this scene with the fireworks. If that scene was in any other place in the movie, maybe it would have worked for me, but the fact that they're literally trying to escape authorities and it's a really stressed, intense scene, and it's like, let's take a moment, let's look at fireworks. That kind of took me out of it.
And they're talking about how they need to get to Cairo like super fast, but we have enough time to take a detour.
Let's go sightsee. And I don't want to take it away from you, Anthony. Like, you can definitely like that. You know, it just, for me at least, as I saw it, I was like, that would have been like better if, while, say, Diana was taking Steve on a tour earlier, if they went into nighttime and there was fireworks and they saw it maybe on a bridge or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's fine. We're allowed to disagree, but you get one per episode. Now you got.
Now you have to agree with everything else he said.
Tia,
damn it, I used it up.
You're forgetting one thing, Tia. They're invisible. That's why they can.
That's true. This is the invisible jet.
And I like how they just, like, all of a sudden she has the power to do it out of nowhere.
She's tried before, man. Come on.
She was doing for decades when she wasn't getting laid.
Right.
Yeah.
She had a lot of time on her hands.
I will say one thing. I actually liked how they introduced the invisible jet because it kind of made sense instead of just it coming out of nowhere. It's like she has to figure out how to avoid radar, and everybody knows this thing is coming.
It feels so tacked on. It's like, oh, wait, forgot about radar, but I know how to turn things invisible, so we're fine.
They had to introduce it at some point. I think they did it in the best way possible.
Sure.
This scene does have a great line reading from Chris Pine, is when she explains the idea of radar to him, and he's like, well, shit, Diana.
They just start arguing in the jet. So she turns the jet invisible, but they're not invisible.
I think they are invisible.
They are, but she doesn't specify that.
It's a 2.5-hour movie already. You guys need explanations for everything. This is ridiculous.
It's in comic book. Yeah, you don't know us, man. All right, we need that stuff. I demand it. As a comic book fan, I demand these things.
Not everything needs an explanation.
You're right.
So they fly to Cairo. Meanwhile, back in D.C., Barbara nearly beats her attacker to death. Max in Cairo makes a deal with an oil baron who wants to wall off the city from intruders, and then takes the guy's security detail as payment. On the way out, it just so happens that they drive past him driving on the other direction, so they didn't really even have to do any sort of detective work or anything. There's happenstance, drive past him. So
Why did they get rid of the jet, by the way?
I don't know. How did they get rid of the jet?
Right.
Yeah.
The invisible jet just fucks off after this.
Yeah.
They forgot where they parked it because invisible.
Right. Yeah, we have a jet, but let's take a fucking cab.
Diane puts on full Wonder Woman regalia, and then they try to stop the convoy and Max, and there's a car chase with tanks and shooting. Eventually, Diana has to save a couple of kids playing in the street like a bunch of idiots, and Max gets away. But it looks like Diana is losing her powers. Diana makes a call to Barbara, and she said she's found evidence of the stone throughout history, and it always leads to the collapse of civilizations. They do more investigating once Steve and Diana get back to the U.S., and they find out that the wish always takes something from the person that does the wishing. They decide they need to renounce the wishes and stop Max from granting more, and Barbara is upset of this and storms off. And then we cut to Max, who all of a sudden his health is now deteriorating, which is not a thing that they really ever explain, which obviously it's because it takes something from the people that make the wishes. But at the point where he keeps making people make wishes for him that benefit him, to the point where he gets a meeting with the president. All at the expense of a son's love.
The makeup job for Maxwell was kind of cool at this point to show his deterioration. Like the bloody eye was super unsettling the entire time.
I think he does a very good job of portraying that pain that he's constantly in.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I really like that. I thought it was like super obvious in the scene where they're being explained the whole thing about the stone, and they're like, you have to have people renounce their wish. We have to destroy it, whatever. And Barbara's like, no. and Diana like so calmly is like, she's right. Like, what? You don't even know what you're agreeing to. Like, does Diana at this point not realize that Barbara made a wish too, which she obviously doesn't, but it's like, how do you not know at this point with that type of temper tantrum that only a 5-year-old would throw?
Yeah, it's like Kristen Wiig going SNL character at that point. No!
Oh my god. That's my piece there.
So Steve tells Diana that she needs to renounce her wish, and she says there's got to be another way. And so she looks at closed-circuit TVs that she has in a closet, and we foreshadow the golden armor. Then Max has a meeting with the president, who asks for more nukes, which is probably very accurate, and shows off some magic technology involving satellites that can beam into any piece of technology, more or less. So Max wants to go to there, and he does. But then Steve and Diana show up, and Diana uses her lasso of truth on a bunch of people, and Steve punches a few people out. But eventually, Max gets away thanks to Barbara, who is now more powerful than Diana. She fights to keep Max in the gift-giving business. Max escapes with Barbara on a helicopter. And then shit just starts going nuts almost out of nowhere. Absolute pandemonium in the streets. Steve tells her she has to renounce her wish, and she cries about losing him all over again, but then she does. She gets her powers back. Then she flies, or really uses her lasso to swing on airplanes. And then Max and Barbara make it to the secret broadcasting location, but in the helicopter, he asks her what her new wish is, and she basically says, I want to be a cat, because that's a wish.
An apex predator.
Such a bad line.
Yeah, saying I want to be an apex predator does not equal I want to turn into a goddamn cat.
I'll be a kitty.
And how does she get a second wish? I thought that was the thing. You only get one wish. So how is this her new wish? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. She had her wish. Unless it's like one of the things like with the genie's bottle, if it transmutes to someone else, they get like everything resets.
Because Max didn't grant her the wish. The stone.
That's the only explanation.
But he also kind of just hand waves it. He's like, I'll give you another wish. He literally says that on the helicopter.
Yeah, so it's a little iffy, I'll say.
It's because the script says it.
Right. We got to get Cheetah in there somehow, so this is how we do it.
Yeah.
It would have been cool if it's like a slow transmutation of her. not just
body
automatic.
horror style.
Yes.
She wakes up one day, she's got like fur,
Yeah.
like really long nails, like
Right,
the Santa
bangs.
Claus, Santa Claus style.
Right. Like she could make that wish. Like I want to be, I want to be like Diana, but I want to be fierce or whatever. I want to be an apex predator. And then just like every day, slowly, the fur comes in. It's like a Lon Chaney Jr. kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The fangs and all that. That would have been awesome. But no, it's
Well,
just like we have to
it would've-
shoehorn in Cheetah.
It would have made more sense if we had seen her at some point even studying big cats,
Yes.
cheetahs, lions, and studying how they hunt and all that, as opposed to her just wearing, like, she became Carol Baskin for a second, and that's the reason why now she's Cheetah. So it really doesn't make sense how that even got to that point.
There's a throwaway line where Gal is wearing cheetah print high heels.
Yeah,
Like,
the first time
like
they meet each other.
Yeah, so that's how she becomes a cheetah. That is so lame.
Actually, it's on the cutting room floor, but Cheetah's catchphrase was supposed to be, "Hey, you cool cats and kittens," every time she walked in the room.
Grr.
Then Tiger King came out and they're like, God damn it.
Right.
What are the odds?
Damn you, COVID.
We were supposed to be first.
Right.
So Max and Barbara make it to the secret broadcasting location, and the government gives them free reign over the airwaves. Max tells everyone in the world that he could grant them all a wish. So everyone just starts wishing for things. We're throwing out the fact that he used to be able to only be able to grant wishes when they touched people, but now we're just throwing that away.
Well, because
This is
the particles.
metaphorical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the throwaway line, well, the particles are touching. I was thinking to myself, fuck you, movie.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Trying to explain away something that we have dead to rights with.
And also, he's beaming into everybody's TV. I mean, there are parts of the world that are sleeping at that time. Not everyone runs on U.S. time, so
true.
you're not getting everybody, buddy. So it's kind of like people are going to wake up like, what the hell just happened? Like, oh, someone was granting wishes all night. Oh, I guess I must have missed that.
It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right. Yeah, some people are, they're getting ready for work the next day. They're not up all night. So, just again, kind of
That
makes
was a
no
really
sense.
good day to be an insomniac.
Right.
Some of my favorite wishes were the one guy earlier who wanted a farm and ended up getting like a farm in the middle of, say, DC or something like that. And then the one guy who's arguing with the woman in the coffee shop, and he's like, I wish you would just drop dead. And it's like, oh, wow, she really just fucking dropped dead.
Yeah, that back and forth was great. I was going to mention that one, is where she yells, like, I wish they get all of you Irish off this island. And then he goes, well, I wish you would drop dead. And then both things happen at the same time.
Yeah, like the freaking ice is there picking up all the Irish people.
And, yeah, it just, out of all the wish granting scenes, that was the one that was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. Having it be in a conversation that you would have every day with someone without realizing the complications is what I think made that scene stand out. And that would just be me doing my normal stuff of reading way too much into something.
I also feel like the fact that it was Irish people, that was a workshopped one. They're like, what can we do that's similar to this? That's not
okay.
like, that's okay. We can't be talking about protected minorities here. What can we say?
Right. Well, yeah, they hate the Irish still, right? Yeah, let's do that.
And then so everyone starts wishing for things. People drop dead. People ask for bombs, depending on your ethnicity. And then Diana shows up with her golden armor for not any particular reason, because she already has her powers back again. So there is no point to this except for fan service.
You would think, why would she have the armor? Right? That's her people's thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Like, why was it specifically given to her?
Yeah, I don't know. And why didn't she use it in World War One?
And what was the postage on that sending it to her?
Right.
Well, maybe I misheard or maybe picked up on something that you guys didn't hear, but yeah, I think she said she found it.
No, they show it.
So convenient.
They show it at the beginning.
What, the armor? Is that?
Yeah.
Did I skip ahead?
They have all of the Amazonian warriors like crowding around it. I think it's Connie Nielsen talks about how the goddess was like righteous and fair. Alice, I forget the name of the. It's not important. It's literally means nothing.
Linda Carter.
Linda Carter, yeah. How she was righteous and she was like a good warrior and good person.
Yeah.
So they show the armor.
Yeah, but I thought Diana said something to the effect of, she stayed here in the land of men. I went looking for her, and all I could find was the armor.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's still on the island
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Diana explains the story to Steve.
Yeah.
That's when we first hear the story of the armor and what it symbolizes and how it helped and all that.
I like how they fight Zack Snyder's Spartans, by the way, in that. Nice little nod to Zack.
Always gotta have
Zack.
Zack around.
Yep. Gotta get the fan service in for the fanboys.
Thanks,
Release
boss.
the Snyder.
Thanks,
Release the
boss.
Snyder cut.
Yep. It's coming.
And then she fights Barbara, who's now a cat lady.
Conveniently the only scene in the dark in the whole movie.
Yes, good point.
Yeah, it's so ugly.
Yeah.
This whole scene is so ugly.
Everything else is super bright, and this is just gray rocks.
It's like day for night. It's like they was like outside, and like 2:00 in the afternoon. It was like, we'll just throw some filters on it. We'll just you smear blue all over everything.
That's Patty Jenkins looking at the final cut. God, that looks like shit. Make it dark. That's Cheetah? Ugh.
That's also why she's wearing the armor, so you only get like glimpses of Cheetah through the armor.
Right. Oh, yeah. What a waste of the armor. It's used as a shield.
Eventually, Diana manages to electrocute Barbara to subdue her. Meanwhile, Max has stepped into the signal, screaming his head off about wishes. Then Diana tries to appeal to him, but to no avail. So she lassos the signal and manages to appeal to everyone in the world about the power of truth and love and gets everyone to renounce their wishes. And then Max realizes that his son Alistair is still just wandering around DC. So this is his save Alistair moment. Remembers he has a kid that he just left in his office and runs away to save Alistair. And he might just get off scot-free.
I think he does.
Just like
he lands back in DC and there's no one there to greet him other than his kid. So
yeah. I mean, technically, if everyone renounces their wishes, does it happen? Right?
I think it does. Right?
Oh.
Everyone has that. I think everyone still has that memory of their wish.
Everyone remembers it, but did it happen? So like if you
Oh,
renounce
it's like
the wish of dropping dead, and then the person comes back to life, that
I
person
think-
never really legally did that person die?
I think that's attempted murder.
That's a good point, because you could get arrested for attempted murder, but could you get arrested for murder? I don't think you can.
Probably not. I think it would be attempted.
But like we see like the bombs that get dropped go in reverse, right? And it's like undone.
Right.
So
That's
like
true.
it just stopped. It was like kind of like put that bullet back in the chamber, more
Right.
or less.
Everyone gets a mulligan kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
This
I think
is
that
also-
would make sense.
This is also a weird point, but did anyone think it was like strange that his son's name was Alistair? Because Alistair's like a demon in the Bible, which
Oh.
not to get like that way, but I just thought that was interesting. Like, why are you naming your kid after a demon, man? That poor child.
Yeah, it's a pretty shitty name.
Plot twist. He's the villain for Wonder Woman 3. Bam.
Boom.
Yeah. They were just setting it up the entire time, and Tia cracked it.
You could pay me now, Warner Brothers.
So somewhere there's a shiver down Patty Jenkins' spine. Oh, someone figured it out.
They got it.
And then it's Christmas, and Diana sees the sex doll she used to have sex with Steve again. they make eyes at each other and have a short conversation and go their separate ways.
I
Then we get a
wonder if-
cameo by Linda Carter.
I was just saying, I wonder if like maybe she takes him home and like this time you're gonna remember what, and then they just go into it.
I thought they were going to go on a date or something. I really
Right.
thought that's where that was feeding.
I mean, all rational people probably thought the same thing. Like, oh, okay, she's gonna date him, and it's gonna be super awkward. Like, I banged you. But you
Yeah,
don't
she's like, oh, I know that futon. What do you mean?
You like it when I do this move. Like, oh my god, how did you know?
Yeah, and that's the end of Wonder Woman 1984.
It's very meh.
It's bad. It's not great.
It has like the moments that are supposed to like really hit don't hit. Like her flying for the first time. Some people were like comparing it to like, oh, that's when Superman learns how to fly. Like, no, it's really not. It's when Superman learns how to fly, that's him discovering his origin. This is just, I'm really sad, and I remembered Steve saying like, harness the wind, and now I can fly. It's not that powerful. That's not powerful. Her showing up in the armor isn't powerful because, like Anthony said, she already has her powers back. She really didn't need the armor to beat Cheetah. It's a lot of missed opportunity.
I liked Linda Carter's little cameo just because, to me at least, it kind of felt just little perfect. She just really, like, still at this age, like, still embodies, I feel like, Wonder Woman. I thought it was a nice little scene. To me, I was like, that's kind of better than this whole movie was.
It was worth it just to see Linda Carter.
Just for that.
She's still a babe. I love Linda Carter. I think she's great.
Yeah, no, she looks great. I don't really have much more to say about this movie. We've talked a while.
We've said our piece, I think. Unless you have anything you wanted to add.
Can't really think about it. Again, I know I keep like praising Pedro Pascal. Again, I just think that he chewed the scenery. Like, even that scene was as ridiculous as it was, with him just like going ape shit and shit's flying everywhere. Just him just going absolutely mad with power, to me just seems so cool. Like, if you could have just transported that performance into a better movie, and given him like a stronger villain reason of what he was doing, I thought that would have hit so much better.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. You guys want to plug your shit? Tia, you could go first.
Oh, thanks. Okay, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, TC_Stark. As I said before earlier in the show, I do a podcast called The Top 10 with Tia, where me and my co-host Brittany just do top 10 lists every week, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. We typically go for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So if you feel like shutting off the world and forgetting all the craziness that's happening, just listen to my podcast. You can find it on anywhere you listen to podcasts, and as well as our YouTube channel, Geek Vibes Podcast. These guys are on it as well. And yeah, I had a hell of a lot of fun this podcast. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And make sure you give these guys all of the likes and subscriptions.
Thank you. We're glad to have you on here. But Dan, what do you got for us?
That's hard to follow up, man. Thank you so much, Tia. It was a lot of fun having you. I'm glad that you were our first guest of the new year. I am at Diaquino122 on Twitter. I also run the Stranger Damies Twitter, so that's at Stranger Damies. So we're still we're on the hunt for 1,500 followers. We're getting there. I think we're at like 1,450. So we're inching ever closer to that next milestone.
Yeah.
Mark.
And to keep the theme of the show, I almost jumped in before Dan started talking. So we have our D&D podcast, Stranger Damies, which is taking a little bit of a hiatus, but it does air every Wednesday when it is coming back. We'll probably be either just starting back up or at least a week or so away by the time you listen to this. So just keep an eye on the Twitter. It's at Stranger Damies, as Dan mentioned. We're on Instagram as well. We have our gaming podcast, Game Vault Pod, that airs every other Monday. So be sure to check that out. It's Game Vault Pod on all socials, and including our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Game Vault Pod. We stream 5 out of 7 days, I believe. And also, Jen has started streaming Dead by Daylight on her personal channel, which is Roxy Foxy on Twitch, so be sure to go over there as well if you love the Dead by Daylight content that we provide.
Okay, thank you. And that's going to wrap it up for this week. We are They Call This a Movie. You can find us on all podcast streaming apps just by searching They Call This a Movie. We're themaindamey.com. That's where you can find our main site, and on all socials just by searching The Main Damey. So that's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Main Damey. It's not all socials, but whatever. Maybe one day we'll be on TikTok. We are also proud members Geek Vibes Nation. You can find them at gbnation.com and on all socials and podcast streaming apps just by searching Geek Vibes Nation. The Top 10 with Tia, us, a bunch of other great shows. If you're into geek stuff, there's surely a show that is right for you. That's going to wrap it up. If you have any questions or comments, you want to suggest a movie for us, hit us up at themaindamey@gmail.com, or on Twitter is where you can find us. The director of Wonder Woman 1984 was Patty Jenkins. So for Dan Aquino, Mark Myers, and Tia, thank you once again, Tia, for coming on the show. Great to have you, and hope to have you on again. This is Anthony Del Vecchio telling Patty Jenkins, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you?